that sort of works for you in an effort to go deeper and do the work, right?
Well, there's academic siloing, which is extremely strong, right? Where you're a physicist or you're a philosopher. Both physicists and philosophers are very interested in quantum mechanics. And there are many people who are famous philosophy professors right now who have no degrees in philosophy. Their degrees are in physics.
It's always been interesting to me that something as superficially esoteric as quantum mechanics is so fascinating to the general public. Like when you actually look at the work of, for example, a science journalist who is tasked with digging deep into topics that are going to be A, interesting, but B, informative for the public, the joke is like, if you write a story about dinosaur sex in outer space and weight loss.
At the Big Bang.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a bestseller, right? Everybody's going to read it because there are these things that we know that people love to read about. And then there are other things that are harder sells, like mathematics. Sometimes computer science can be a harder sell. Quantum mechanics is one of those fascinating things to me where, like, I have to admit that one of my frustrations on SGU is that I am not as dialed into the cosmology piece as some of the other guys. And so sometimes, like Bob, for example, will go on and on and on about like some neutron star or and he'll get really deep into like the mechanics of how it works. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so bored. I don't care. And it's hard for me because I want to be really excited about all science. Quantum mechanics is one of those really interesting things that's like, it's so dense, it's so complicated, and it requires you to like really do a massive perspective shift to think. Yeah, there are people out there who are like, I don't even have a basic science background, but I'm fascinated by this stuff and I want to know more. I mean, have you thought about why that might be the case? Or like, have you pondered that before?
Yeah, I mean, by the way, I don't think there's any moral requirement that you be fascinated by all science equally. Like, it's okay
Thank you.
to have favorites and not favorites. I certainly do, right? Like, that's totally okay. But quantum mechanics is special in a number of ways. I mean, for the book, right in chapter 1, I decided to illustrate this by going to Amazon.com and typing in the word quantum into the search bar in the books category, and I found 100 different books with quantum in the title, and I gave some of my favorites there. Quantum yoga, quantum therapy, quantum healing, quantum touch.
I was going to say, how many of them are actually physics books?
Well, the ones I talked about were not. There are actual physics books also, and I think, here's part of the dirty laundry that I get into in my book, is that part of it is that quantum mechanics is, I think, when you say that it's sort of different perspective, you have to change your shift your view a little bit. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely crucial. But the other thing is that physicists don't understand it. And I make a big deal out of this, and some physicists email me and say, like, I understand quantum mechanics, what are you talking about? But as a field, we don't agree on what's going on. So if we don't agree, like a simple question, like, are atoms mostly empty space? Right? This is something you will hear physicists say. I think it's entirely bullshit, this claim that atoms are mostly empty space. I think it's a misunderstanding of quantum mechanics. But to be fair, physicists don't agree on what quantum mechanics says. So, of course, that will leak into the broader conversation about the thing. Because if the experts can't agree on what's going on, then how in the world can we expect the people on the street to get it right?
Yeah, there's this kind of analogy that I'm forming in my mind, and it may not be a perfect one, but when you look at the political spectrum, you can go so right that you end up left, or vice versa. And I think that is something that's really interesting about what you just mentioned about quantum mechanics, is that in terms of scholarship, it almost takes this circular route to become philosophy once again, where you've got these core arguments that are fundamental to the nature of the cosmos that we can't even agree on the foundational stuff. Like the same is true in philosophy, and a lot of stuff, a lot of scholarship builds upon that. So you find yourself being in these different camps, right? Like maybe I'm a continental philosopher, or I'm an existentialist, or I'm a whatever. The same way that maybe you're a string theorist, or you're a whatever, and you have to find a theory that sort of works for you in an effort to go deeper and do the work.